Let me bring in this other aspect too. It borders on the capacity of police for intelligence gathering, forensics.
Yeah.
You know, many times when we cover some of these reports from your men, what we see is it looks as though, I could be wrong, it looks as if they rely mostly on confessions from the suspects. Because many times when either a CP is given a briefing, it says, well, they have confessed to this crime, and it comes across to the public as if, are you relying based on the confession of the public to go to court? Because lawyers tell you, look, some of these things will fall flat on their faces. The power of investigation.
I quite agree with you, but all these things, they are capital intensive. There are some that you can do at the short run, like opening up a cell phone, you find at the scene of crime, trying to profile it, picking up evidences at scene of crime, like scene of crime management. Those are the areas that I think, we've not done very well. And those are the areas where we are trying to get our partners, the U.S. Embassy has been doing quite a lot to, train our officers on managing crime scenes. You cannot, whenever there was this incident of the bomb blast at Yanya, the scene was virtually contaminated because we're not able to secure it properly. We're not able to lift, those, forensic evidence that we need for prosecution. These are the challenges that we have, but I think they are not insurmountable. There are things that we have to. It's a conscious effort for us to develop the capacity of our officers, specialize, professionalize, those departments that have to do with those things. And that is why we are taking a look at the various departments. What is the current rate of, their expertise in dealing with these issues? What are the gaps? Those lacunas, can we, solve them through, training program? We also have challenges of funding. The challenges are there, But I know that the Nigerian police force is virtually, let's say, about 100 years old. Starting from
that's a lot.
Starting from the amalgamation and all those type of thing. We have a very vast country. Sometimes when people make comparative, analysis about, oh, this is how it is done in some West African state, then you ask them, what is the population of that West African state? Is it comparable to maybe Lagos or any of the states here? It's quite a vast country. It's quite a huge country. And when you look at the numeric strength of the Nigerian police force, and then you start knowing that the challenges are quite there.
Just quickly though, I'm just wondering, how do you think that the average man, the policeman on the street, you have said remove all points of friction, which is also points of corruption, which is, whether or not you like it, how some policemen have been able to augment what it is that they take home. Welfare. How is it going to work out for your men?
When people talk about welfare, sometimes they see it from the perspective of the monetary take home. I am addressing it in a different manner. I'm saying that the vehicles that I have now put on the highway, I have now told the commissioners those vehicles have to be fueled. I have been able to come up with how many, if I'm giving them 30 liters, per day, I know how many liters they would, need, for the week, for the month, quarterly. And I am saying I'm going to pay the money into a filling station, in a particular state. They go there, they have their logbooks, just as it's done, elsewhere in the distance, so that they can go. Then it's a difficult thing, staying on the highway for 12 hours. They need water. They need, to have something to eat.
The reason is that you feed them.
I'll feed them, yes. Because, I want to have the moral latitude to say, I have done this and this for you. And I have told you that this is the way I want us to go. If you are in breach of that, then I now have the right to hold you, accountable. If I feed you when you are on duty on the highway and I fuel your car, what do you need the money for? Okay, that aside, the inspectors and rank and file, they are our frontline, officers. They are the ones who are always in constant touch with members of the public. That is where we have, our greatest problem. I would say, okay, if I am able to develop a welfare scheme for them, let's leave the salaries alone because that is outside, my powers. I cannot determine the salaries that they take. You know, I can always articulate it maybe to government to say, oh, this salary is not, will not take these guys home. You know, but I can put some small welfare, you know, things around them. I can develop a housing scheme for them, maybe a 2-bedroom apartment across, you know, the geopolitical zone, and say that if you stay straight, if you are good, if you are not corrupt, if you don't abridge the rights of, you know, Nigerians that you are supposed to protect, at the end of the day, by the time you are retiring, you should be sure that, you know, you should be able to have a house to move into. A 2-bedroom apartment, you have a mortgage scheme. I can help you access a mortgage scheme at a very reasonable cost, that it will not be more than 4 to 5 million naira, which is, you know, within your threshold. You know, I should be able to do that. We have schools all over the place, police schools. I can say, you know, your 4 children, you know, we are going to slash the tuition fees for them. We can say, okay, your wives, you know, will build, you know, healthcare systems in all those places so that they can access it through the NHIS. We can also say that, you know, we can put some shopping malls within those places, you know, where your wives can, you know, fend for themselves. So, you know, these things, issue of corruption and welfare, you know, there are 2 things that have to go, you know, pari passu. You know, that you cannot divorce one from the other.
So is that what can be described as you about adopting a carrot and stick approach to discipline within the police?
Absolutely, Chamberlain. That is exactly what I want to do. I don't want to tell them, don't be corrupt, when I'm not able to, you know, conceptualize those things that I know. You know, corruption is the fear of the unknown. You know, you've been in service for close to 30 years. You are retiring. You don't know where, you know, how you are going to, and some of them are not very well skilled. You know, so if you are not well skilled, you know, how are you going to, you know, melt into the, you know, the civil society when you leave? So I doubt if there is any police officer or anybody, for that matter, who will want to go to the public highway and pick, you know, money. To me, it's like begging for alms. You know, you are collecting your dignity. You know, you are an officer.
Can I quickly extract something from you then? Because, I mean, over and over again, it's been a subject of concern to our team. Every time we pass by that airport road, if you're going to the international airport, you see the police barracks. I do know that new structures are being put in place, but there are structures along that road that really are an eyesore. You can see that the concrete is wearing out. You can see the rods in, you know, the decking, as it were, and you know that there's a disaster waiting to happen. People are still living in it, perhaps because they do not have any other options. Are you aware of that, and what are you doing about it?
It's not only in Lagos. It's you know, across the length and breadth of the country. But you know, these things too, they are also tied to, you know, the paucity of funds. It's a country that, you know, has you know, we all of us we take from a common pool, and there are other contending, you know, issues that you know, the country has to deal with. What I have asked the Works Department to do is to try to, you know, document those things, so that maybe the incoming government, we could say, these are the problems that we are having. Anybody who lives in a house like that with children and all those things, you know, definitely, you know, will not have that, you know, self-pride, you know, to say I'm staying in a place like this. But all the same, these things they are long-term, you know, issues that.
We are more afraid because of safety.
Yes.
They look like they can fall down anytime soon.
So, sometimes, you know, the Works Department, they conduct some integrity tests on those buildings, you know, to make sure that they are safe. You know, I think sometimes all that is required is just to, you know, clean them up. They've been built over the years, and one will expect that occasionally we should be able to take a look at them and do some renovation work. But because they've been neglected over the years, you know, the toleration is, you know, the state at which you see them.
Is there any consideration for, I mean, you say you like to see the police become a lot more friendly with the people, because that's why they're there in the first instance. How about the police stations? Any consideration as to maybe remodeling them to make them
more public friendly? We are having some model stations now that is being that was conceptualized by J44. the DFID. You know, we have about 4 or 5 of them, you know, here in Abuja. They are being built in such a way that, you know, it will elicit, you know, public confidence. You walk in there, you say the environment is friendly. The stench that you get from those areas, they are not such that are offensive to start creating that public perception that, oh, these guys are, you know, they are dirty people and all those type of thing. But even the ones we have, you know, what I'm saying is that if you don't keep people in our facilities that are not supposed to be there, this sanitation, you know, this thing can be improved upon. You know, we did it in Panti. We just said, even in the first CID, when I took over in first CID, I inherited about 233, you know, inmates, and I asked them, I said, what are they doing here? This is not a guest house. You know, you must be able to, you know, get them out. And by the time I was living there, at any point in time, you know, we had between 10 and 15 people. And those are people that, you know, are not within, you know, the police powers to release on bail. Maybe, you know, they've committed, you know, cases of homicide or, you know, robbery, and that we have evidential proof, you know, that leaving them, you know, would elicit outcry from members of the public, and we don't have powers to do that anyway. They still have to go, whether we file, you know, an information at the High Court, or we take them to the magistrate court for them to be remanded. So I think it has to do with, you know, the way we approach, you know, policing in this country. The idea of keeping people in custody for long periods should not be encouraged.